So what I'd like to do next is a little bit of a small demo with an existing project. This is a door that I have to do have to completely sand this down, clean it all up, and fix something that somebody else tried to fix and actually made it worse. So what it is it's a panel that apparently this is all made out of teak. It came from a cabinet from his grandmother. They salvaged all that, they made this panel up, and then they used a CNC machine to put his company's logo in it. Of course, there should be another rail and another style, but both of those just popped right off after one summer out here. This has been outdoors. So what I'd like to do with it is I'm going to go ahead, and you can actually see that it was reclaimed by all the existing screw holes. I'm going to run the sander on some of these styles to clean them up a little bit. And we're going to do both of those. I'm going to run this using I'll put it in disc mode, which is more of an eccentric disc mode. I mean, just like all the Rotex sanders, it's not a pure disc. And then I'll also run it afterwards. I'll run it on the random orbit. And then just to demo, I'd like to demo this. I don't have to get into the corners because they cut this with a back cutter. But what I plan on doing is I'm going to use the DTS 400 and also the Rotex 90 and the Delta mode. And we're just going to pretend that there's a corner back here and just see how aggressive and how fast to remove this very aging teak oil that's been on this board for I don't know how many, probably a decade. Okay, for this small demo, what I would like to do is I'm going to use the Rotex 90 in eccentric disc mode with a fresh sheet of Rubin 80, and we're going to go over the style and the rail just to give it a little bit of a cleanup. This has got it's supposed to be just teak oil on this teak, but to me it feels like there's a little bit of varnish in there, and actually there's some digging in here, so whoever did some work on this before was a little bit on the rough side. But this is on the back. Again, the nice part about this is it's basically the full pad is going to be in use on these rails and styles. Now afterwards I'm going to switch to the Delta head and compare it to the DTS 400. We're just going to pick something out in the middle of the field here, maybe sand there, and then I'll sand over here. We'll do it at the same time, same pressure, and then I'll move it back slowly so you can see what type of difference we have. Okay? A little bit of a bump there. I'll have to take care of that a little later. You can see it's going through it quickly. Came out really nice. This one's really smooth, except there's a little piece here that's coming up. I'm going to have to do some gluing and fixing on that. Okay, we're going to switch it to random orbit mode. Now what you can't see is that in the eccentric disc mode there were some very blatant sanding marks over here. And even though I didn't go over that very quickly, or very slowly rather, it looks like I got them at least at 80 grit. Definitely looks that way to me. I mean, I would want to continue up the progression anyway. So you can see how nice and easy it works on a nice style. So let's switch to the Delta mode, and I'm going to run both of these side by side. Okay, so we switched over to the Delta head, and then of course the DTS 400. Now, as a note to anybody else that wants to do a video, if you say that you're going to use two sanders simultaneously, make sure you actually have a way of getting two vacuum hoses to those. So I don't have a splitter for my CT22, so I've actually got it connected up to a whole contraption of dust collector apparatus. Let's give you a look. There we go. That monstrosity right there. There's a lot of hockey tape and a couple couplers in there, but somehow or other it's connected up to the DC. So that's what we're going to use for these two sanders. And I tested it out, and the suction on it is about what I would want anyway. So let's go. So generally this side here was the Rotex 90 in the Delta head. You can see it did pretty well. This one here, of course, has a much wider, it just handles a lot more material at a time. And I was actually pretty surprised how well this one here did. This part here, that's there is a little bit of a dip in there, so that's not so much the sander, or maybe I was leaning it, but you can feel there's a little difference there. That's why I went for another couple passes. So in that sense, I don't know, it's hard to decide which would be better. This one, of course, you could get into smaller corners, but then this one here did pretty darn well. And this is one of my favorite sanders, so I will give it credit where it's due. But of course, if you were to get, say, the Rotex 90, then you kind of get both sanders in one. So it came out pretty good.